There's this deep romance to the open ocean, right? That endless horizon, the sense of freedom. But here's the thing. Underneath all that adventure is a world of incredible complexity. Crossing an ocean safely, that's not about luck, it's not just about courage, it's about deep, hard-won knowledge.
Wow. I mean, that really paints a picture, doesn't it? It just captures that raw, untamable power of the sea when it's really angry. You'd think that's from some epic adventure novel or an old sailor's tale.
Well, it's not. That quote, believe it or not, comes from a standard maritime training manual. The kind of book you have to study for something like a Yacht Master qualification. So this isn't fiction, it's required reading. It's a pretty stark reminder that to master the sea, you first have to respect its power through knowledge.
So what does it really take? What's the secret sauce? Let's go on a little virtual voyage together and break down the essential skills every mariner absolutely has to master, from plotting that very first mile to surviving the worst kind of storm. Every single trip, doesn't matter if it's a few miles or a few thousand, it always starts long before the boat even leaves the dock. It starts right here, with the nautical chart. Think of this as the absolute blueprint for the entire journey.
At its heart, chart work is all about precision. First, you've got to have the right tools. Nothing super fancy, but you got to use them carefully. Then, and this is huge, you have to check the units. Is the chart in meters, feet, or fathoms? Getting that wrong could be the difference between a great trip and, well, running aground. Once you've got that sorted, you measure your distance, and finally, you draw that beautiful, simple line from A to B.
And how are we measuring that distance? Not in miles or kilometers, but in nautical miles. Now, this is what's so cool about it. A nautical mile isn't just some random length. It's tied directly to the planet Earth itself. It's exactly 1 minute of latitude. And that's why you can use the latitude scale on the side of any chart anywhere in the world to measure distance. It's just a perfectly elegant and universal system.
Okay, so you've plotted your course, you have your plan. But once you're out on the water, how do you stay in the safe channels and avoid all the hidden dangers? Well, you follow the sea's road signs, this incredibly logical system of buoys and marks.
And right off the bat, here's something you absolutely have to know. The world is split into two systems, ILA-A and ILA-B. They use the same kinds of buoys, but, and this is a big but, they use opposite colors for marking channels. So in Europe, under System A, you keep the red buoys to your left or port side when you're coming into a harbor. But in the Americas, under System B, you keep red to your right or starboard. The most important thing is just knowing which system you're in. And for System B, there's a lifesaver of a phrase, red right returning.
Okay, now besides those channel markers, you have what are called cardinal marks. These are different. They don't mark the channel, they mark a specific danger and tell you which side has the safe water. And this is where the logic is just brilliant. See the two cones pointing up? That means pass to the north. Pointing down, pass to the south. Pointing away from each other, kind of like an egg, that means pass east. And pointing in towards each other like a wine glass, you got it, pass to the west. So simple, so visual, you'll never forget it.
Navigating channels is one piece of the puzzle, but what about navigating around other boats? There are no traffic lights out there. Instead, we have a very strict set of international laws called the COLREGs. That's short for International Regulations for Preventing Collisions at Sea. And trust me, these are not suggestions. They're the absolute rules for survival.
At the very core of the COLREGs is this clear pecking order. It tells you exactly who has to get out of the way. And it's all based on one simple idea, maneuverability. A boat with broken steering can't move, so obviously everyone gets out of its way. A big ship dredging a channel is restricted in its work. A fishing boat has nets in the water. A sailboat depends on the wind. And way down at the bottom of the list is the boat that can turn on a dime, the power-driven vessel.
And the rules are written with this kind of legal precision for a really good reason. I mean, look at this one. It's a cornerstone of the whole system. It just removes all doubt. If you're in a powerboat and you see another powerboat coming from your starboard side, that's your right side, the responsibility is on you, period. You are the give-way vessel. You have to act, and you have to act early. There's just no room for guessing games. That clarity is what keeps people safe.
So we've talked about all the man-made systems for getting around out there. The charts, the buoys, the rules. But all of those systems only work because they exist inside a much, much bigger and more powerful system, nature itself. So understanding weather and tides isn't some bonus skill. It's absolutely fundamental. Let's take a common weather system, like a depression or a low-pressure system. To us, it might just seem like random, chaotic weather, but it actually has a predictable life cycle. It's born on the border between cold and warm air, it grows up and gets stronger, And then, as the cold air finally catches up and pushes the warm air out of the way, it gets old and dies off. Knowing that process lets a sailor look at a forecast not just as a guess, but as a story that's unfolding.
And for centuries, sailors have come up with these amazing rules of thumb to figure out what's going on around them. Bayes-Ballett's law is a perfect example. In the Northern Hemisphere, if you just stand with your back to the wind, the center of the storm, the low pressure, will be to your left. It's this simple, powerful observation that basically turns your own body into a navigation tool, helping you figure out where you are in relation to the storm. That is the essence of good seamanship, reading the language of nature.
So what are we actually dealing with inside that storm? Look at this number, 30 knots. Okay, that's about 35 miles per hour. And you're probably thinking, okay, that's the wind speed. Nope. That is the typical forward speed of the breaking crest of a big ocean wave. Just try to picture that. A solid wall of water weighing tons, not just moving up and down, but actively charging at you at nearly highway speed. That is the kind of energy you have to manage.
So what do? All your planning and all your forecasting have led to this moment. That storm is coming, and you can't avoid it. Survival now comes down to two things: preparation and tactics. It's about putting all that knowledge into action when it counts the most. Way before that first big wave hits, the work starts. Everything that can move gets tied down. Seriously, a loose can of soup below deck can become a missile. You double-check the engine, because that's your last resort. Everyone gets into their safety harness and clips onto the boat. You seal up all the hatches so they're watertight. And you take down your big, everyday sails and put up tiny, tough-as-nails storm sails. Survival isn't an accident, it's planned.
Now, in the most extreme storms, like a hurricane, you might pass through the eye, and it's just bizarre. The wind suddenly dies, the rain stops, it feels like it's all over. But it is a trap. Just look at the description here. Mountainous seas approach from all sides in complete confusion. A good mariner knows this is just halftime, and the second half of the storm, with winds screaming from the opposite direction, is just minutes away.
So, when you boil it all down, from drawing a line on a chart to reading the clouds, from knowing the rules of the road to respecting the power of a single wave, one thing becomes crystal clear. Mastering the sea was never, ever about overpowering it. It's about understanding it. It's about having a deep respect for the whole system. And that respect is built on a foundation of pure knowledge. So the real question is, do you have what it takes to learn it?